Welcome back to another video on the layout. It has been a while, but I'm back and I'm hoping to stay back. And today we're going to focus on this whole section of the layout, as well as giving you an update on like my roster and stuff. So stay tuned. Alright, this is my current plan here. So I'm going to take that out of the way. So the current main line are these two tracks. They run through here, they go through this kind of sketchy curve, and then they go down here with all the way through this relayed section. So what I'm gonna do here, I have this nice Pico switch, which is probably about the only switch that I trust to be a curve on the main line, because I've heard that Atlas switches aren't the best. So the idea here is we're gonna tear this whole section up all the way up to probably here and then here. And then we are going to put this switch in. We're gonna like cut it right here, put a switch in. And so this main line will switch on to here, go into a track through the center, and these curves will be relayed, so nothing will be here. So the two main lines will run parallel to each other through here, switch back onto here, and then this track, which will remain going straight, will be a run-through siding. So it will continue through here, go all the way down through here, and then I'm probably gonna have a switch spliced in here for it to go back onto the main line. So yeah, let's get to work. All right, so I've got this track gotten taken out all the way up to here, which is the new track I laid, and that's gonna stay here because this main line's all good. So I desoldered right here, and I'm gonna desolder right there, but first, so this is all original track. This is the one stretch of track that hasn't yet been replaced. And as you can see, I didn't even bother gluing it. I didn't bother gluing this crappy old flex track. I just screwed it down. I barely even soldered it, and there's like a kink there. And I'm surprised it's lasted this long, so it's about time it has to go. I also just like screwed down the road bed, so that's nice. But I'm gonna unscrew these, and then we're gonna take this out and take out the road bed, and then I'm gonna have to do some leveling work here, because as you can see, that's not great, and that's caused a lot of decouplings in the past, and also gonna have to work on some here. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. All right, so I took it out. I had to unscrew a bunch of screws, and now it's all taken out, so now we're just down to road bed. So now I have to go in manually and grab these nails with like pliers and then pull them out. And this just shows you how like, I guess, lazy I was back then, or like how little I actually did, because I just had one nail securing this whole thing in. So, all right, now that that job is done, I clearly have some cleaning up to do. So yeah, I'm gonna get vacuuming. Alright, so now that all the cleaning's done, everything's looking a lot better. I still have to move this because I like glued this wire in because I wanted it to stay put when I did all the wiring at like 1 a.m. a few months ago. So that is gonna have to be, hold on, there, I pulled that out. But this is all glued starting here, so I'm either gonna cut this, just like cut it right there, or I'm just gonna pull it off. I'm probably just gonna cut that. All right, now that that problem is solved, we're gonna get on to probably leveling this all out. Yeah, leveling this all out, and then I'm gonna plan out the new curbs, which I have a 1/4 turn of Kato Unitrack to plan out the radius. So, yeah. All right, so I got this front part kind of leveled out here. I took the screw out, which was really buried in there, and since it's been so long down there and like smushing it together, I had to put a cardboard spacer in there, but I screwed it back in and all the holes were like still there, so it didn't like push it down and push it up. So that's like relatively good right there. I'm still gonna sand it, but the back is what I'm really worried about here, because if you see here, there's no way to screw this down because there's a big electrical box in the way. So I have to try and figure out what to do here. I'm kind of thinking of like plunging a nail in through the bottom or something and then screwing that in somehow, but I'm not really sure how I would do that. So yeah, I'm gonna try and figure something out. All right, after like 20 minutes and some very precisely placed screws all through here, 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 and here, I've got this section fully leveled. Well, close enough. It's in the bubble, but like barely. And then I'm gonna sand this section down to level this section and get these two on the same plane because there is a ridge here. Alright, I've replaced the sandpaper with 180 grit, which this was 120, but it's so worn out that this will do more. Alright, let's get back to work. Oh, hold on here. Alright, after probably about 10 minutes worth of sanding Homasote, I've got this pretty good here. As you can see, it's relatively level. Can't really, I'll smoothen out this back here by hand because I can't reach the orbital sander under there. But I also went around here a little and tried to flatten some of the high spots. You can see how really uneven this stuff is. Even over here some. This is where I really did most of it, and it feels really smooth. It actually feels really nice. But dang, this creates a mess. Like, look at this. This is just like 10 minutes, and I cleaned this off once already too. So, also my phone is super dusty. So is this old office chair. So yeah, I think next thing I'm gonna do is touch up back here. Alrighty, that's looking pretty level. Nice. Alright, so now I think I want to address this because this is kind of flimsy. Alright, the mess grows, but see how we're doing here. Nice, pretty level. But that, it's a little high, but that probably just needs a screw. Yeah, it's also pretty level. Nice. So I think I'm gonna put a couple screws in here to level this out, and then we can get to marking out the curve. Alright, I put 2 little deck screws in there, and now we're doing pretty good. Yeah, doing pretty good there. And then transition here is still looking pretty good. Alright, and then also looking pretty good. So now I'm gonna take this really dusty Kato Unitrack, and then I'm gonna use it to mark out a curve. Alright, so I have this drying now. I just tacked some nails in and push pins in it. Just whatever I have laying around to make sure it stays put. So we're gonna wait for that to dry, and I think we are gonna do some more work over here. Alright, so it is the next morning, and the glue on the tracks is basically fully dried. There's still some pools of it, but that's fine. It looks pretty good. It will definitely need some sanding, but this is how it's looking. Alright, so it's later the next day. I just got back from going to Chicago. So I have this curve laid out. I followed the template, but I don't want to have the exact same radius curve 3 times because that looks weird. So what I'm going to do is I have this piece of cork road bed to space out the tracks properly, and then I'm going to draw along here, and then that's going to be the new inside for the next curve. Alright, so now as you can see, I have the line for the inner cork road bed, so that'll just line up like that and go all along here. So yeah, let's get to work gluing this down. Alright, so I'm next going to work on getting this switch installed because all this road bed here is dry. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it in and then I'm going to solder it, but I also have to drill a hole for this thing. I don't even know if I'm going to use it because I think this is for like power routing and I don't use power routing, but I still got to drill a hole for it to go somewhere. So yeah. Alright, so I got the switch glued in. It's probably all I'm going to do for now because I got to wait for that glue to dry and I only have so many of these little pins. So yeah, I'm going to wait for this glue to dry. Alright, so it's yet again the next morning and it looks like the glue on the switch is dried. Yeah, switch is dried. Looks good. See how this road bed is looking. Looks pretty even except for where this cardboard is, because that's definitely gonna have to be sanded, I know that. But it all looks pretty good. So I think now what I want to do is work on extending this switch to the road bed. Alright, so I've taken some road bed and I cut the corner off to like have it blend into there, but I'm not sure if I want to have it be like a gradual curve like that, or if I want to like have it like be like a tighter curve like that, but then like straighten out the rest of the way. Alright, so this is how things are looking right now. So I've decided that I'm just gonna put a switch in here so I can like put a car back here or something if I wanted to. And so I got rid of this piece, I just cut the rest of it off. And I just lined it up here and put it in line with this track here. And so these are gonna switch and then it's gonna come to here, and yeah. Looking pretty good so far. Alright, so this is what things are looking like now. I moved this switch. I have outlined this road bed for me to lay down some glue, and then I've done the same for this road bed. That is about the furthest I'm gonna go right now because I'm not sure on that curve yet. But I'm gonna lay down glue all through here and tack down the road bed. Alright, so this is how things are looking. I have these two switches in and a piece of straight track in. These haven't been glued down yet. I'm getting ready to put this flex track down for this curve. And then I'm gonna have two switches. It won't be these two. I have some switches that have been painted and are drying. I'm gonna have them for a reversing loop. I'm gonna have these two switches for a reversing loop, and I'm gonna have them isolated with these plastic rail joiners. But I just have these two as placeholders so I can see how long I need a straight track piece to be. So I have also laid this last curve, and I have laid the bridging sections to bridge the gap between the new curve and the track that's already in place, and that stuff is all drying, as you can see. Right now, I want to test these switches. I have a Proto 2000 GP30 on the track, so I'm gonna get this thing running so we can test how these switches will run. All right, I'm liking that angle and that lighting, so first I'm going to have it run straight, do this straight, and onto here. Alright, it looks like it made it across, but it did lose power because, of course, I have all this rail painted, and I only have one of these joiners soldered on, and I don't even have any electrical connection to the other one. All right, so I have glued in and soldered these switches, these two, and then I finally have the new ones that I've glued in and soldered. I glued this track down, glued this track down, and I connected these two. So we are going to test it again with this CNW GP30. So let me go get the transformer on. I'm gonna send it straight forward first. Alright, so it has been a few hours since I last recorded something, and I now have this whole track set up here. I have it hooked up to here and going that way. I have this set up here. I have the start of a curve to go down that way. I have these two curves in and drying. So the main line, once this is done drying, the main line will be back up and running because it's utilizing this switch here, which I tested briefly and it runs great. So all I will have to do is put down road bed all the way down through there and hook it back up, and then this project will be done. All right, so it is the next morning yet again, and these curves have dried up pretty well, it looks like. Normally with these really older pieces of flex track, I usually have some issues where the ties bow up, but I've not had any issues with that, which is really good. So I have a super long train set up, and we're gonna do a maiden voyage on this main line to see how it goes.
All right, it has been about a week since I last filmed any progress for that down there, but right now we have a different problem to deal with, and that is thermal expansion. When I laid this track, I didn't account for that, so this track here is wiggly and wobbly and stuff. And then this track here, this piece right here is a lot worse. So we need to fix that, and real quick, I'm gonna try and desolder this track here and then put this switch in and then also account for the thermal expansion. So it's probably been a bit over a week since I've filmed anything here. I went to Wisconsin for the 4th of July, and then I got back on Monday, and it's Wednesday right now, and I've just been kind of working to try and get this done. I haven't really been recording as much. I just want to get this done. So the switch has been spliced in. I fixed the thermal expansion issues, and I got this track running all the way through. So we're gonna test it.
All right, that is going to conclude things for today's like this part of the project and like the video, but I do want to give you guys an update on like the rest of the layout and like where everything is, because it's been so long. So I'm just going to do that real quick. So like, pardon the mess basically. So over here, I have extended this part out by like a foot basically, so I could have like 25-inch radius curves all through here. So yeah, I rebuilt this, did some scenery here. Now I have this cool signal from Atlas. I'm probably gonna replace this with like a more western one, or like north midwest one, like one that you would see around the Illinois area and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I have a cool case for all my trains. This table had track relayed a few times since you've last seen it. I think it's been twice, but that's all 25 radius. Grade crossing was painted. Obviously my collection's gotten a lot bigger. Don't mind all of this. This is not me, this is my little brother. I don't know what that's all about. And of course, this got all redone. So yeah. That is probably going to conclude everything for today's video. It's been a while. I hope to be consistently uploading Model Railroad content now, as well as rail fanning content. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.